will backfire politically, will backfire, I believe, morally, and certainly, as we have stated quite clearly, we have reserved the right to take military actions if deemed necessary.
This war needs to stop immediately. The aggression needs to stop immediately, because everyone knows who is the big beneficiary of the war and dragging the whole region into this conflict. Unfortunately, what is happening now is serving those agendas.
Already soaring oil and gas prices rose even further. Israel says it won't happen again.
Israel acted alone against the Slawiya gas compound. Fact number two, President Trump asked us to hold off on future attacks, and we're holding out.
I told them don't do that.
The US added assurances and said it had nothing to do with the strike on Iran's gas field. However, the damage is done.
Again, we warn the enemy you made a big mistake in attacking energy infrastructure in the Islamic Republic of Iran, and our response is ongoing, and it's not over yet.
The CEO of Qatar Energy says LNG exports will drop by about 17% because of the destruction, and it will take up to 5 years to fix. Repairing relations in the region and globally may take time too.
Yes, I understand that really this is a very complex situation. There is no clear answer for that, but what I can tell you is that maybe attacking on the facilities is not only attacking on the country hosting the facilities. If we put ourselves in the shoes of the people here, they may see it as attacking on a kind of global economy which is unified in the world economy. As you know, Iran, maybe this is only a repetition of what always is being said, but Iran has nothing against the neighboring countries, Arab countries. But the world economy is unified. Everybody is benefiting from these unified facilities, energy flow, and flowing of energy from the Persian Gulf outside. Therefore, if you deprive one player and attack one player, attack the facilities of one player, which is Iran, maybe they will consider it logical to stop the flow of energy from all regions.
John, and entirely predictable. We knew that this was going to be Iran's strategy, but the US...
Well, if they knew about it, they couldn't do anything. Yes, but also they're not supposed to be, and nobody expected that they'll be in the middle of this. And they should not be the recipients of anything that Iran responds. So if the US hits them and Iran cannot hit on the US, the justification of hitting the Gulf states and energy infrastructure of the Gulf states, when the Gulf states have not done anything, it is hosting for sure, but that is not enough to justify the response and the ferocity and the confusion that Iran has done. By the same logic, the US could continue forever pounding on Iran without any concern for life, civilian or otherwise. And that in itself is quite problematic.
I want to bring in Jim here. Jim, you're a research associate in MIT's Security Studies program. How much security is this bringing to the Gulf?
No. Obviously, initiating a war of choice, not a war of necessity, is going to be disruptive. And what's more, when you take a regular war and you turn it into a fight for survival, which is what the U.S. has done by declaring its goal as regime change and then unconditional surrender, what Iran hears from those terms is this is a fight for survival. So I don't think anyone should be surprised that they're hitting other states in the region. Many of these states hold U.S. bases. Like, that would be justification enough in some circumstances. But it also has to be said out loud that some of the states in the region lobbied for this war. The Washington Post has reported that the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia was advocating on the phone to Trump to initiate the war, and then after the war started, was on the phone advocating that he finish it or complete it, whatever that means. So it's not surprising that Iran doesn't want to get into a conflict where it's everyone against them, but they want to raise the cost of this to the U.S. so the U.S. doesn't come back in 6 months and we do this all over again like we did 6 months earlier. So it's really who can take more pain here? Can the U.S. take the political pain, economic pain, or will Iran run out of drones and missiles first, or reach a threshold where their pain is too great? And that's why we're in uncertainty. We're in a dangerous period of uncertainty where this could definitely escalate if either side chooses to move in that direction.
Sorry, Jim, I'm just going to interrupt you there. I want to bring your point to Mohsen in Tehran. Mohsen, it's a very interesting point, right? What is the pain threshold here for Iran? How much pounding of their capital cities can they take, destruction of oil facilities, etc., before they have to go to the negotiating table?
The negotiating table, we don't see here in Tehran any sign of the other side to be interested in diplomacy or negotiation, because a negotiation table was in reach and they were sitting around it. But in the middle of negotiations, this attack was initiated. Therefore, Iran is a large country. I mean, that can merge the whole economy of the world in this conflict. I mean, I don't see an end to it, because two bad acts cannot result in a good thing. Then continuing pounding Iran cannot bring negotiation or conciliation. The first step is to cease the hostilities, then think about any, viable or sustainable peace. Otherwise, with the force, you cannot bring people to the negotiation. And even if you have a negotiation under fire, that negotiation cannot be legally binding in future. Therefore, they need to first cease the hostilities and then think about the negotiations. Right. Iran always has been ready for negotiations, but at this
Mohsen,
time,
I'm going to stop you there. Mohsen, I'm going to stop you there
because the situation, and again they attacked Iran.
Well, that's the exact point, right, Jim? Yes, there were negotiations taking place. They were taking place on the eve of the war. Now, but we talk about, appetite for destruction here, as it were. One of the key things Iran is doing is forcing global energy prices to spike. At some point, if it does, I mean, oil is already at what, 116, that kind of level. If it goes to $150 to $200, then America has to stop. And that is a new way of warfare, right? Economic warfare.
Well, I mean, we did see that partly during the oil embargo of 1973, when oil was used as a weapon in the wake of war in the Middle East. And we saw it again during the Iran-Iraq war, when we had the so-called tanker war, but to more limited effect. And this is really the biggest use of oil and shutting down oil supply that we've seen in history, even larger than those previous examples. I think it's a function of two things. It's going to be a function of duration. How long does it go on? Like, let's just assume it's going on at this level, which is pretty intense for Iran, by the way, but it goes on at this level for how long? And the longer it goes on, obviously, the more intense the damage and lasting the damage. But there is a second variable here, not just duration, but intensity. And all wars have the capacity to escalate and expand, particularly wars that involve a fight for survival. I can't underline that enough. States will go to the edge in order to survive. And if you just look at Ukraine, Russia, we see, enormous destruction of the economic infrastructure there, attacking nuclear power plants, the grid, all sorts of things. So this is, this happens in wars. So if this war intensifies, you will see the nature of the destruction intensify. And then when you get into not simply shipping, but production facilities, then the impacts will linger. Oil's pretty good at sort of recovering from this or that. It's liquid, if you will. But if you go after production, that's a different thing. So I worry about this escalating because we're in a fight where one party sees it as a fight for survival.
Mohsen, that's a very good point. And it's been said that Iran is a regime, a governance system that can survive everything, all but a complete occupation. Do you think Iranians still feel that way? The Iranian establishment still feels that way?
I think we have to take the lesson from the past experience as well. I mean, first of all, the destruction which is happening is exactly what Israel wants. I mean, that inflicting destruction on a country is not a strategy. Is just an act of violence and destruction. I mean, then even if a government is completely destroyed, then you have to face a nation and a country. I mean, the experience in the past situation like Iraq, Afghanistan, and other countries as well, you cannot destruct the facilities, even the government, and then overwhelm a country. Then you face the nation, and that would drag you in an endless war, civil war, and also war of people against you. Therefore, this is not a strategy. This is just inflicting destruction as much as possible to the region, and that's what Netanyahu and Israel want. And even if I don't think Americans also want that, but they are dragged into war to make destruction